I am Noelle Summit, or known as Noelle the Marionette, and you are watching the Fans View Podcast.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Fans View Podcast. Today, I am joined by a wrestler who may be the most unique and intriguing character on the independent scene right now. It's the Marionette herself, Noelle Summit. Excited to have you on here, Noelle. From Rocky Mountain Pro to Midwest Championships to OVW. I mean, you've done a little bit of everything so far. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing pretty well tonight. I'm happy to be here. I'm maskless. This is only the girl behind the mask, but I've been looking forward to doing this interview for a little bit.
We're so excited to have you today. And I'm glad you said that. We're going to get behind the mask tonight and really get to know the person behind the Marionette.
Yes.
You started training pretty young at Rocky Mountain Pro. What do you remember, about those first days of training, and what made you want to step into the ring in the first place?
So when I was 8 years old, and I tell this story, it's the same story each time, obviously. When I was 8 years old, my brother got a PlayStation 2 for Christmas, and with that PlayStation 2, my grandma bought him a bunch of video games, you know how grandmas do. And one of those video games happened to be SmackDown vs. Raw 2009. And I remember we just really fell in love with the game and the people in the game, the characters. Big Show and Mark Henry were two of our favorite guys. We were, for some reason, obsessed with those two. For some reason, we were just obsessed for those two. With those two, for some reason, couldn't tell you why, but we liked the big guys. We liked the big guy matches.
I love that.
And I remember one day we figured out, holy crap, we can watch this on TV. And on demand, I don't know how many people still have actual cable or on demand. I feel like everyone's streaming services nowadays. But on Comcast On Demand, it would give you a description of the show that was about to play. And I still remember looking up the USA Network, where I think it was SmackDown was on, and it was SmackDown 2013, whatever the year, and it was John Cena versus Alberto Del Rio in an arm wrestling contest. I still remember that. And I think I just fell in love from the moment I watched it. It was something I could keep up with consistently. It was something I looked forward to watching every Monday night, every Friday night. For Marionette, cut that out. I don't want to. For me, for myself, wrestling was was an escape. It was really an escape for me. I felt very awkward as a person, just in life, growing up. And wrestling was always just kind of a safe haven for me. And, I became obsessed with it. I fell out of it a little bit. When I say a little bit, I mean I was keeping up with everything. I just couldn't say I was watching it because it wasn't cool.
We've all been there.
And I remember I was sitting in a Chinese restaurant. It was around Christmas time. I'm sitting with my uncle and my aunts, and they're asking me, what do you want to be? I'm 13. They're asking me, what do you want to be when I grow up? What do you want to be when I grow up? And I say, I think at the time I wanted to be a nail tech. I love getting my nails done. My uncle made a comment. He was like, oh, I remember when you wanted to be a pro wrestler when you were a kid. Haha, that was stupid. And I remember it was in that moment, maybe it was out of spite, maybe it was just I told myself, I was like, I have loved this consistently for so many years, and it's it would have been a huge regret if I didn't at least try.
Absolutely.
That was in that Chinese restaurant. I was 13 years old. Shout out Tea Garden. I decided that I was gonna start. I was gonna start to my journey on becoming a professional wrestler, and that's how I ended up finding Rocky Mountain Pro down in Golden, Colorado. I was trained by Mercury Matt Yaden and the team down there. Lovely people. Wrestling can be a very scary world. It can be very something unknown, and I was going into it with as a 16-year-old. I was freshly 16. I remember the first time I drove on the highway was the first time I went to wrestling. Um, that's how new to the world I was. Really, like we all know, you don't really become conscious until you hit a certain age. I okay, Kat. Um, through through all the stuff in wrestling, I don't think I could have been with a better group than Rocky Mountain Pro.
For sure.
Started my training down there, and for someone who was also learning how to be a human and learn to be a wrestler, they were very patient with me. They were very kind to me, and I have the utmost respect for Matt Yaden and what he's built down in Colorado. I wish more people knew about Rocky Mountain Pro, because they have a great thing down there, and Mercury Matt Yaden, he gives a great foundation to his wrestlers that when the time comes and we go off, we have good basics, a good foundation to build off of. And yeah, I was with those guys from the time I was 16 till I was 20. It was a long time, very interesting couple years of life. You know, through like there's good, there's bad, but I don't think I could have been at a better place than I was for Rocky Mountain Pro.
That's awesome. That might be one of the most unique kind of, you know, genesis of a wrestling career stories I think I've ever heard. That is awesome.
Thank you.
Um, did you have a moment during that training, maybe early on, where you're like, okay, this is so much harder than I expected it to be?
Yeah, yeah. There was many days, because I think everybody before they try wrestling kind of has this expectation or whatever of it. And you think you listen to all the podcasts and all the insider stories, and like all the terms and all the stuff like that, but you don't know what wrestling truly is until you are in wrestling. I it's difficult. I don't want to call people outsiders, that's like old school, but like it's difficult to explain it to outsiders. And there was multiple times, because I also was 16. I was also 16 years old. I was a kid, and I was going through a lot personally and at home, and there was a lot of times where I was just like, I want to quit. Even later down, like 2 years in, there were times where I was like, man, like this is just too much, and I want to quit. But I love wrestling with my whole heart and my whole being, and it's one of those things that even on the days I absolutely hated it, and like I just didn't want anything to do with it, I knew in my heart, like, man, like I love it, and I can't like convince myself. I'm maybe I'm so upset or frustrated in this moment, but I love it with my whole heart. Like it's that bad ex-girlfriend, that you keep going back to, ex-girlfriend, ex-boyfriend, it
For
just
sure. For sure. I love that explanation of it. And it really comes through when you talk about it too. You don't even have to say it. It kind of just shines through when you're talking about it.
thank you.
I'm so glad that you didn't give up, and I know I speak for a lot of people, because man, your character, I said it in the opening, you might have the most unique persona on the independent circuit, that being, the Marionette. Can you walk us through kind of the beginnings of that idea, just how that came about?
So originally, the Marionette was supposed to be a one-off. It was supposed to be a one-off character that happened once and never happened again. Shout out to Rocky Mountain Pro, doing a story, a story that was happening on the show. I got kidnapped and I became the Marionette.
As one does.
Yeah, yeah. I got kidnapped and became the Marionette. I got saved there for a second, but no, I wasn't really saved. I've always been the Marionette. I've always been Noelle. Just but basically, and I'll never forget it, when I first when I first put my mask on, I remember it feeling okay. This feels right. Like, I impressed people so much that one night at Olympia with the character. They wanted me to keep doing it, and from that day forward, it didn't just become just a story piece. She became who we know who she became me.
Yeah.
I'm the Marionette. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
It's in throughout the years she has evolved. She's become for the people. Noelle is for the people. I always say that. Noelle is for the people. If I didn't get that like I said, if I didn't get that opportunity at Rocky Mountain Pro to do that, don't think I would have I don't think I would have had the amount of success that I have. The Being the Marionette, I feel most comfortable.
Yes.
It feels most comfortable when I don the mask and I have the face paint on. I don't feel out of place. I don't feel awkward,
For
So
sure. For
the
sure.
character is much more who I really am than, what I was doing previously.
I love that. And I want to follow up on that because one of the questions I wanted to ask you, obviously, if we break it down to its core, being a marionette puppet on paper looks kind of silly. And pro wrestling can be silly, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But if you don't buy in, if you're not the marionette, it is silly. You make it such that it's not. You make it believable, to an extent. Was there a point for you when you really embraced that character and you thought to yourself, like, yeah, this is me, rather than this is the gimmick I was given?
You know, I think
Mm-hmm.
when I started traveling and realizing because shout out to Honor Among Wrestling, they were my first out of state booking, really out, because when you start wrestling, there's always you have your home zone.
Right.
That was the first, and I remember they had reached out to me, and that was the first time I ever felt, because I remember they had reached out to me because they wanted to see the character, and
Right.
it was at that point in time I cut my first cinematic promo, and this was when I was like, okay, like, I can feel more. I have the reins when it comes to how the character is presented, because I'm not going off of a script or something
Right.
like that. It's That's when I felt like, okay, like, this is it. This is it for me.
For sure. I love that. Another thing about that gimmick and that character is you use body language in such a specific way. It's almost like you're moving exactly like a puppet. How much work, aside from the wrestling, the bumps and the match itself, how much work do you put into kind of like studying movement and entrances and working on, your in-ring mannerisms? That's got to be just a world all its own.
Yeah. It's taking things outside of wrestling and applying them within the wrestling ring. Um, it's watching how puppets move. It's watching people pull puppets on a string, and it's really exploring, like, kind of how your own body moves. Like,
Sure.
I figured out, like, I can twitch. I can twitch. You know, it's you know, I wish I could say that, but a lot of it I just started to do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And it's like, you know, I go and I watch things, but with like the twitching and the walk,
Just kind
that
of
I
feel
kind
it.
of I just kind of feel it when it comes to that. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, for sure. For sure. So that attention to detail that you have, like you said, kind of paying attention to mannerisms and things like that. I know that attention to detail kind of it connects to another side of you. I know you actually design and sell your own masks. Uh,
yes.
has being an artist has it influenced how you approach wrestling? You know, maybe as far as the presentation and the character.
Yeah. I've always been artistic. I have always loved to paint, to draw, doodle, stuff like that. The masks are kind of that my own way to kind of share that side with my fans. No mask is ever the same. Each mask is unique to you. So you have an original Noelle Summit mask. You know, it's a piece of my heart to the fans because I appreciate them so much for supporting me. Because people forget wrestling is an art form. It's I do think nowadays it's always been a sport. Like, I'm not gonna say wrestling isn't physical, but
Absolutely.
you know, there's people have there's an art to wrestling. It's an artistic expression. It's telling a story between two people. It's painting a picture.
For
You
sure.
know, it's putting all the pieces together. So it's easy to go in. You know, it's easy to apply creativity because I'll always say like I'm an artist first. You know, it's you're painting a picture in the ring.
I like.
Hey, you. Yeah, watching this right now. I see you. If you're enjoying what you're watching, I've got one quick favor to ask, and it only takes a second, costs you nothing, and makes a huge difference. If you could go ahead and hit that like button, maybe drop a comment. If you haven't already, make sure you're subscribed. Doesn't seem like much, but for small creators, it's everything. So let's help more people find this channel and keep the content coming. And honestly, I'm pretty sure the podcast will be really grateful. So if you're having fun, you like what you see, make it official, click those buttons, and the Fans View podcast, we'll see you next time.
I like that. You've already held multiple titles and multiple promotions. You know, you've had fantastic matches all over the place. I know one match that always comes up when people talk about Noelle Summit is Zaya Brookside. What did you take away from that experience with working like someone like Zaya?
It's always a treat to work with people who are better than you because it's always that question. Okay, like I want to wrestle up to them. Um, it was an honor. It was a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to work with somebody who is more experienced than you, who is better than you. Um, what I took away from it was more to be more confident. To be more confident because I held my own. I held my own in the ring with, you know, somebody who is now on WWE TV, and that's something that's so surreal to me. I'm just like, oh my gosh, I just shared a ring with you, and you were now on my TV. You know, it makes me in an odd way hopeful because now it doesn't feel so far away.
Yeah,
Do you get what I'm saying? Like that,
absolutely.
you know, wrestling, there's levels to wrestling. But right then and now it just it's like from where I'm standing, like my level, like where I want to be doesn't seem so far away, you
For
know?
sure, for sure. It's within eye shot, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a perfect segue uh to being in NXT, AEW, and TNA, you know, WWE. You recently moved to Louisville to train and wrestle at OVW, which I mean, I've talked to so many legends from OVW and so many up and comers that have come through OVW, and they all say the same thing. There's been nowhere like OVW. What made you take that leap? Obviously, being a Midwest girl, a Colorado girl originally, you know,
Mhm.
to move to Louisville, Kentucky is quite the jump.
It was quite the jump. I was born and raised in Arvada, Colorado, right on the border, like right near Westminster, right near Golden. I was lucky to live in the same house up until for 20 years of my life, so it was scary. I'll tell you, it was scary putting all my stuff in the car and just kind of, couple $100 in my pocket, and it was very scary. Like I'm not gonna lie to it was a very scary feeling, but there was something so I just knew I had to do it,
Right.
because for all the love I have for back at home, for you can only get so good staying in one place.
Absolutely. Yes.
Wrestling is the journeyman sport. It's always has been, being on the road, going from place to place to place. I don't know why, but it's like I think of the song "Carry on My Wayward Son," because like that. You're a traveler. We're gypsies. We're carnival folk. Like you have to stay in one place. Like I knew I was on. I knew I had hit a ceiling. I had did everything I wanted to do in Colorado. I worked for Lucha Libre and Laughs. I was the Lockettes champion. I'm the youngest Lockettes champion at Rocky Mountain Pro ever. Um, I, I, there wasn't much more for me to do, so to get better, I listened to my coaches, I listened to the people around me, and I I was like, it's if I truly love this and I truly want to have a shot at making this my career, like I have to go. And OVW has been phenomenal. I'm not gonna say it hasn't been a challenge, because it's always a step up. It's always a level up. And if iron sharpens iron, and if you're not surrounding yourself with people who are as good or if not better than you, you're not growing. So I feel like I've been finding my footing here. Like I think, I overall am very happy to be in Kentucky and in Louisville, and I've met a lot of amazing people. I cannot speak more highly of the OVW women's locker room, just because for as competitive as it is sometimes, I think the mutual respect we have for one another is just something I haven't really experienced before in
Right.
a locker room. It's very refreshing, and it's very nice to see. It's a place I'm starting to consider home.
Love that.
It's really, really. I'm not gonna say it's not a challenge, because it's definitely been a challenge, but it's something I'm so thankful I did, and I'm so thankful that I have the opportunity to learn from Al Snow and Doug Basham. I'm looking forward to the future, and I really hope one day I can have called myself OVW Women's Champion as well.
I would love to see that myself. How different is it working with, someone that's as accomplished in professional wrestling as Al Snow? And then you also mentioned Doug Basham. He's another one. And then you have the OVW women's division, like you said. You have Freya, Sophia, J-Rod, Rachel Leigh. I mean, how different is it working with such experience as opposed to when you were back home?
With working with such, it's really eye-opening. It's the why behind the what. That's what I always would say to people, when I feel like Doug Basham, especially in training, has given me the why. Like I said, I've had a great foundation at Rocky Mountain Pro. But Doug is giving me the why. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's very eye-opening, because you are learning from people who have been there and gotten jobs from the highest point in our industry. So it's a treat. They're wonderful. They're hilarious. Like, I'm just gonna say that they're hilarious to be around. But it's like, it feels like I'm really doing wrestling, because these people are professionals, and these people have been doing this for a living.
Right.
That's really the big difference of the matter is, these people have been doing this for a living, and they know what it takes to make this your living. So, it's it. I'm trying. Real talk. I'm trying to say this without absolutely shitting on RMP because like I spent the last time like, but to tell you the truth, and it's just it feels like people are really doing wrestling.
Yes, I understand.
They're serious about wrestling, and it's not just like a hobby, and it's
Right.
not just like
It's profession now, yeah.
It's a profession. This is a little more serious.
Outside of wrestling, you've talked about in the past, being shy and very reserved growing up. Has wrestling kind of helped you to grow out of that and maybe come out of your shell a little bit and gain confidence just in everyday life?
Yeah, I mean, I to get a little deep about it. I especially when I started wrestling and 16 between like 16 and 18, I really did struggle with my confidence, and I was very just I didn't love myself, and it wasn't a lot of stuff happened during wrestling, and for me it was getting good at something, because when I was younger I didn't really play sports, I didn't really do anything that athletic. Whether it was getting strong from lifting the weights, or it was seeing myself in the ring and being like, that didn't look half bad, like this, it was a confidence boost. So, like the ages 16 and 18, they were really rough for me mentally and emotionally. Like I didn't have much confidence, and it I I didn't love myself, so a lot, I allowed a lot of stuff to like manifest within me, and manifest this really shitty mindset about life in general. But through wrestling and getting really, because that was something my coach Mercury Matt Yaden would, he would say to me. He would be like, getting really good at something makes you feel good about yourself, and when I finally kind of came back down to earth, and I took my mental health seriously, and I started seeing a therapist again consistently, getting myself medicated, getting myself on an antidepressant, stuff like that. Like when I sat down and realized, like, oh my gosh, like I've been getting good at something for the past year and a half, 2 years. What would happen if I put all this energy I'm putting in, not loving myself, and putting this into this thing I love so much? It was really then, like, that was when my confidence started growing and growing, and then I got more opportunities and opportunities, and it was really like a wake-up call for me. It was like an eye-opening moment that, like, wrestling, in a lack of better terms, like, it saved my life, like, during that point in time, because it was always the thing that kind of pulled me back down to earth. Like, if I was doing something crazy, something I shouldn't be doing, it would be like, wait, you have to go to training tomorrow. Wait, we have this really big show tomorrow. It was the thing that kind of pulled me back down, and it's something I credit for, like, not saying wrestling is therapy, because wrestling is not therapy. Therapy is therapy, but it's something I definitely account, just for making me more confident. Was getting really good at wrestling, to sum that whole spiel up. Was getting really good at wrestling.
That's courageous to even talk about it. So I appreciate you, sharing that with us. As we start to round this thing out, obviously this is the Fans View podcast. So I have to ask you, besides, your artistic side with the mask making and stuff like that, what are you a fan of?
What am I a fan of? Just like in general?
Just in general, yeah.
I love English history. I am very much like, I've always been a little bit of a theater kid, a little bit of a nerd. I'm a nerd. I could tell you the whole history of Henry VIII and his 6 wives if you wanted to. I could go on and on about that. Loved to write stories. I loved writing growing up, and I dabble in it sometimes, but busy wrestling life, like you don't always have the time for it. But I love being creative, and I'm a fan of being creative. I'm a fan of feeling free, if that makes sense. Feeling free to create and to project the image in my mind, because my mind spins, my mind goes. I'm holding a random paintbrush right now. My mind will spin until I find a way to put it, whether it's on a canvas, whether it's in the ring, through my actions, my promos. I love being able to create. I feel like is the best way to put it. I love being able to create.
I love that answer. We'll take that. And last but not least, at this point, not only of your career, because you're still a young woman in the wrestling business, but you're a young woman, period. How do you define success?
I've struggled with that for a while, because there has been a lot of, in my young life, there's a lot of times where I've felt like I've just totally failed. But I think success is peace within yourself. If you are at peace with your if you're at peace with your situation, if you are content, if you're happy, you're healthy, you're not hurting anybody else, I think you have success. I think that's success, at least for me, is if I am happy, healthy, doing what I love, and I'm not hurting anybody else, I would be pretty successful in my book, if that makes sense.
I love that. It makes all the sense in the world. We'll take that. Now, before I let you out of here, before we started rolling, we were talking about a big match that's coming up. We here are a very, very pro Undead Bride podcast. So tell the people what you got coming up next month.
So, October 25th, Honor Among Wrestling, the Marionette, and the Undead Bride finally step foot in the ring together, one-on-one, in a Halloween street fight. It's just, again, like, girl behind the mask. It is the biggest match of my career, and it's something I've been building towards for, like almost a year and a half now. And I am very excited I want to take Noelle to the next level in this match, and I am so lucky to be able to learn from Su Yung and be able to dance with her in the squared circle. Like there is no one I respect Su Yung so much, because they're very, like, women's veterans in this business are very far and few between. It's just because I really couldn't tell you why, but
right.
It's hard to come across somebody who has the amount of experience that she does, but also has that experience with the character. It's been awesome to connect with her over, like, the artistic expression of our characters, and it's just been amazing to get to know her and be able to get to learn from her. And this match, like, I want to prove a lot of things, not to anybody else, but to myself with this match. And I'm just looking so forward to it. So October 25th, Honor Among Wrestling, Noelle, the Marionette, Su Yung, the Undead Bride, will be dancing in a Halloween street fight.
That is going to be a barn burner, folks. If you have any ability to get to that show, trust me on this one, get to that show. Noelle, this has been awesome. I want to thank you so much for sharing your time and your story with us today. I think fans are really going to connect with you in a way you can't even imagine. I'm just so excited. I want to have you on again for sure, so we could dig a little bit deeper into this. When you're done with Su Yung in October, we're definitely going to have you back on so you can tell us the tale of how you survived.
Yes.
Where can people reach out to you if you survive? I wasn't going to say it. I was thinking it, but you said it. Where can people find you online, if they want to find out where you're wrestling, things like that?
I am lucky enough, Instagram was good to me, that I am Noelle Summit on Instagram, Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook. I am Noelle Summit on everything. If you search me up, you're gonna find me. Instagram, Facebook is the best way to get a hold of me if anybody is looking to contact me for new opportunities, or if you just want to say hi. Yeah.
I love it.
At Noelle Summit.
I love it. Guys, make sure you go follow her on the socials, check out her matches, and grab one of those masks if you can get your hands on one, guys.
No two are the same.
No two are the same. There's no better selling point than that. Go get you a very unique piece of wrestling merchandise. Easy for me to say. But until next time, guys, Noelle, thank you so much. Guys, make sure you go follow and support her. We love her here at the Fans View. And most importantly, last but not least, don't forget to call your mom.
If you haven't liked or subscribed, you're going to be joking me.